Love Neck Deep, and I just wanted to make a rad bass for Seb, their bass player. I just woke up with that thought in my head one day. Here's the story. What up? Welcome back to the 182 News YouTube page. Appreciate you checking out this video. Today, I want to talk about just a rad top secret project I had for a long time. I woke up with a random thought to just hook up Neck Deep's bassist Seb with a rad bass guitar. And Neck Deep is a band that I love. I've talked about them on the podcast a million times. Their bass player Seb, absolute legend. I don't think he gets enough credit, but he's a huge Blink fan. He's followed the podcast page for a long time. Always been super rad to me anytime I've chatted with him or reached out with Neck Deep questions or whatever. And I had been documenting a lot of Neck Deep history and merch and memorabilia and guitars, just nerdy stuff, trying to figure out like what guitars were used in which videos, how many guitars they had, what is this stuff tracked with, all that good stuff. And I woke up one day and I just had a thought in my head like, I want to make a bass guitar for Seb, and I want it to be super personalized and sick. And obviously, I've never made a bass before. I don't play too much bass really at all. But I just wanted to do something kind for him, really just as a token of my appreciation for Neck Deep and what they do on a regular basis. I mean, their music means a lot to me, and the opportunity to get out and catch live shows. I mean, if you have not seen them live, it's just insane, like the best. So I started thinking about, how could I even pull this off? I've never designed a bass, and I want to break this video down into the first part is really going to be like, I guess, my thought process, the creation process. The second part is going to be right before I handed it off. And then the last section will be handing it to Seb, gifting it to Seb at VIP, which just happened a couple days ago. So to kick this off, thinking about the best way to approach, I guess, creating a bass guitar for somebody you don't really know, you want it to be cool and you hope that they like it. But first I had to make sure I had somebody who could make it. And there's only one person who comes to mind. That's the bass making extraordinaire, my friend Allan Corona, who has made tons of bass guitars for people throughout the years. He's been on the podcast a million times. He's made multiple bass guitars for Mark. The last Blink album was tracked with Jen, a bass guitar he made. He's made bass guitars for Ian of New Found Glory. And I sent Allan a random text a couple months ago, and I was like, dude, I have an idea. Do you think there's any chance we can pull this off before my show, which was in October, a couple days ago? And Allan was just completely on board. Like, Allan is the sickest dude ever. Like, I appreciate him so much. And so right away, my brain started churning. I'm like, okay, what am I going to put on this? What color? What build? Like, what specs? All that good stuff. So I started looking, and I knew Seb had two basses. He plays a Jaguar that's a Tide Pool, like metallic blue color. And then he has more or less an orange jazz bass. So I didn't want one of those. I had seen he had played a white one in a video, but if you're going to do a custom bass, I wanted it to be kind of flashy, like pretty unique. So I debated between like pink, like a yellow, and then ultimately, I've always been inspired by Matt Skiba's Jaguar that he played in the California era. I've always loved that green. And as I started piecing together potential art to throw on it, the green on his hat in the album art for their newest album, I really wanted to hone in on that and just kind of match that. So I knew from the get-go, let's do green. I've always preferred a Jaguar body. I just think it looks sick. And it seemed like that's what Seb was using primarily live. So Allan and I honed in on, let's do a Jaguar body. Let's do the best you can match this green on his hat. I've always been a sucker for like a tortoiseshell pickguard. So I was honed in on that. And then it came time to figure out the art. And I'm going to share just some of the preliminary designs that in my head, I just opened this up on my computer and I just started trying to dig through like what would be sick. And I just started piecing these together and throwing them on there and trying to let the puzzle kind of take shape and figure out where to put this stuff. Seb's basses that he played weren't super flashy or tricked out by any means. So I knew the front I wanted to be fairly basic with it. I didn't want it to be too crazy. However, I knew on the back, I wanted to trick it out a little bit because, you don't really see it more or less, but it's sick knowing that it's there. So on the front, this is just the earliest version I found that I had. I really wanted neck deep on there in some capacity. So you'll see initially I had it there. And then these little designs, a lot of which made the final product, were from an Instagram story he threw up like 2 or 3 years ago. And I remembered he posted this, and they were just doodles that he and his longtime girlfriend Laura had made. And I had screenshotted it because I thought some of these may be sick tattoo ideas. And I even replied, I remember replying to Seb, I was like, dude, these are rad. These might be sick tattoos. And I had always loved this little sunflower. I was going to try and actually get it on my arm not too long ago, and I didn't have the space over here to squeeze it in. But I've always loved that. So right off the bat, I knew I wanted to find this doodle page that I had saved. And man, it was like a needle in a haystack on my phone. I knew I had it somewhere, and it took forever going through 80,000 photos on my phone to find it. But I finally found it. So here it is. And this kind of became the basis of what I wanted to piece together and just personalize this bass with. So ultimately, the neck deep in the top, I ended up swapping that out for neck deep on the back. I didn't want too much like neck deep on it. I knew I didn't want like his face plastered on the front. I didn't think he would want that, to perform with or whatever. But again, I knew the back, we had more space and more opportunity to trick it out how we wanted. So the front really more or less didn't change too much. If you've got the yin yang, I thought that was a perfect spot for that. And then I just picked out some of those doodles that really stood out to me that I really liked. Ultimately, we ended up putting a UFO in the top instead of the neck deep. When you flip over to the back, I don't know Seb. I don't know these dudes personally too much outside of what they share on their Instagram page. So I looked through it and more or less, I had asked one of his friends, what is Seb like? And he was like, he loves his dogs. So I knew right away I wanted to get the dogs on there in some capacity. And as I was looking through his Instagram, one of their dogs had passed away. So in my mind, I was like, okay, let's get paw prints. Let's do like angel wings for the one that had passed away. I was really worried about getting these names correct. Ultimately, I think we did it right, but I was really worried about like the spelling and which dogs were which and all that good stuff. So I wanted those on there in some capacity. I wanted neck deep on there somewhere, and I honed in on the original kind of neck deep Rain in July era logo. I don't think a lot of people realize it, but Seb was there from day one. I mean, that EP was recorded in his bedroom. That's the start of neck deep essentially. So from a history perspective, I wanted that there for sure. The TB Records, I knew I wanted that to be on there in some sense. That's Terry Barlow Records, their father who passed away. I thought that would be cool to have there on the back. The Magic the Gathering, like Seb had actually posted a Magic shirt he was wanting. And in my mind, that just kind of stood out as like, obviously he loves this, and it'd be kind of a cool Easter egg to pop that on there wherever we could. The Celestial Recordings, this was straight from Seb's recording website. He's a producer, so I just went to his website and grabbed that. The artwork from the album, from the very beginning, I thought that would be sick to have just huge on the back somewhere. Incredible art. The artist is Evan Wesselman. He did all of the artwork for the new album. He's done like the current tour poster. Super, super recognizable art. It's really sick. You know exactly who did it when you see it. So I've always loved that. And then in the top, I wanted Laura Whiteside on there in some sense. That's his longtime girlfriend. She sings on A Part of Me on that Rain in July EP. I actually, the only thing I wish I could have found, I thought I had on file, because I document neck deep autographs, and I thought I had on file some Rain in July CD or vinyl or something that she had signed at some point, because she's on it. And I was thinking, gosh, if I could find like her handwriting signature, that would be super cool to put on there, but I didn't want to try to bother anybody to have her sign something new or tip anybody off on it. So ultimately, I just put LW on there, and ultimately just told Allan, like, you know, make it whatever font you want. This originally, just in my mind, was like an LA kind of ripoff. But the more I started thinking about it, the band just went to LA to record that last album, hated it so much that they went back home and self-produced. So I was like, maybe LA is not the right call there. So that's kind of the thought process behind the design. You'll see here ultimately where we kind of landed. I more or less just threw it together in Photoshop the best I could, and then looped in Allan to just run wild with it. And he just absolutely crushed it. You'll see some progress pics here. I mean, he pours his heart and soul into these, just shaping the wood and sanding it and finishing it. It's just really cool to see his process. You can see the green guitar here, how he routed out the pickups. We did decide to stick with the standard bridge pickup. Seb, it looks like he used that when I saw it in the live photos, so I wanted to keep that. We did go with Seymour Duncan quarter-pound pickups reversed. So this is how Mark plays his bass. Allan and I had kind of debated on this for a little bit, and ultimately Allan assured me, like, everybody that I do this for ends up loving it and keeping it. So we decided to try and convert him here. Reversed it. Those could always be flipped, I figured, if he hates it for some reason, but pretty sick there. Standard Jaguar body. We ended up going with a jazz maple neck, so it's kind of a perfect combo of the jazz he plays and then the Jaguar he plays, fully custom and personalized. And yeah, so I mean, basically Allan just busted ass to piece this together for me, like, in a month. Very, very appreciative of him. You know, when it came time to get it painted or whatever, he painted it, and then we FaceTimed and talked about really the art layout and kind of the direction I had envisioned, and he just nailed it. And, you know, I told him along the sides, like, just pick some doodles off this page that stick out to you. He threw some of those on there, which are insane. We put ACPC. There's a fun little Easter egg there. That's Allan Corona popping curbs. And then, yeah, from there, it was time to ship it to me. I was freaking out about the shipping and if it would arrive in time. We were kind of pushing it, and it showed up at my door, and I was stoked. I knew it was safe and sound, and it was going to make it in time for the show. The next part of this video, this is the day before the show, where I was just preparing to hand it off. This is it. I'm going to play it a little bit. I'm terrible at bass. But I wanted to at least just strum this thing a couple times. I'm going to surprise him with it tomorrow. He has no idea. The only person who knows, sort of, is their tech who confirmed the specs for me. I just wanted to make sure I got the specs right. He probably thought I was crazy or that it wasn't going to happen. But here it is. So look how sick this bass is. I've never played a jazz neck, and I've never played, I don't think, these Seymour Duncan quarter pounders. Nice and beefy. Let me turn this up a little bit. I'm trying not to be too loud. Let me turn up the bass a little bit here. Let's see. That is like a full, nice sound. I dig that. And I dig this neck. I didn't know you could play bass this easily on a neck. That's part of why I've always hated bass, is because you're playing a baseball bat. But maybe I'm used to P-bass necks. So my first impression is this is sick. I really hope Seb digs it. I'm going to hand it over to him tomorrow. Allan is the man. Absolutely crushed it. Cannot thank him enough for really just bringing this vision to life. So hope to talk soon. Hope to have some rad pictures soon. And we'll see. Peace. So the show day arrives. I've obviously been looking forward to this for a long time, pack up the car, going on a road trip, and I'm just hoping that the handoff goes well and that he digs the bass. Now, the day before this, I did reach back out to the tech, shout out Boots, and I said, hey man, I did make the bass. I'm bringing it tomorrow at VIP, and I just want to make sure, like, if they won't let me in with it, can I hand it to you or pass it off somehow? And thankfully, he replied back and was very kind about it and was like, yeah, dude, no worries. Let me know if for some reason they won't let you in. So I show up to VIP, check-in process. Everything was awesome. Man, I cannot say enough about how rad the Neck Deep VIP experience was. Like, honestly, one of the best VIPs I've ever done. If you're on the fence about it, do it. A lot of bands should take notes from how Neck Deep does their VIP. It's sound check, it's Q&A, it's group photo. One of the coolest things for me as just a collector and nerd is you can bring your own items to get signed, which I think every band should do. There's so many fans who have bought vinyl or merch throughout the years and they want to get it signed, and there's usually not an opportunity to do that. Even at public signings, typically you can get one item signed and it's the CD they're promoting or whatever. So I was stoked about that, having a bunch of Neck Deep stuff I wanted to get autographed. So I get through the VIP line. Everybody, I think, just thinks I'm bringing a guitar to get signed, which is great. So they let me in with it. Didn't have any issues there. We do the sound check, which was awesome. The Q&A, group photo, and then we line up for the tier 2 VIP folks who more or less get like a one-on-one meet and greet. And I just get in the back of the line. Like, I don't want to burn other people's time with my silly gift. So I'm standing in line, and finally, it's my turn. I think there were about 50 folks for that. So I was dead last, and I bring up the bass. And Seb was like, what's that? And I didn't know, I don't think they knew me. I think Seb, from following the page, probably knew of me in some capacity, but I don't know if he could just pick me out of the blue walking down the street or something. So introduced myself. Seb, what up? It's Poppin from the Blink Pod. I'm the Neck Deep News nerd who's been documenting kind of the history and the band on that side of things. And they seemed like just super genuinely stoked that I was there, stoked to meet me, which was awesome. So just the kindest dudes. I brought some fire to get signed, like old school original Rain in July tapes, Ali Pally vinyl, stuff like that. And then it came time to bust out the bass. And Seb was like, what's that? I was like, well, we'll do that last. And so I pull it out, and, I pull up the case, and I was like, you might think this is a guitar that I'm going to get signed, but no, this is for Seb. And he was like, what? And so I kind of stepped back and let Seb open up the case, and he was just shocked. He was like, wait, this is for me? I'm like, dude, it's for you, 100%. And my heart just felt so full because this is something that I'd been working on for a month. Allan had worked on, and, here it is in this moment. And the band was just so stoked for Seb. That was part of one of the things that stuck out in my head is not only was Seb genuinely shocked, you can see it on his face, some of the pictures, but the band was just so hyped for him. And it just really meant a lot to me. And I greatly appreciate the lady at VIP who took your phone and took pictures for you, because I've got a ton of rad pictures from this moment that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And Seb was just shocked, man. He gave me just several hugs. He was like, dude, thank you so much. And he said, I'll play it tonight. And I was like, what? In my mind, A, I had hoped that he would like it. B, hoped that it sounded good enough and played well enough that maybe down the road he would play it either live or a music video appearance or something. But I never would have thought in a million years that he would be playing it that night with me in person. I'm like, oh my God, no way. And he was like, yeah. He's like, let's see if we can get the tech to get the strap locks on it and get it ready for stage use. So that was just insane. So the handoff was complete. It went great, and went and sat in the car for a little bit, charged my phone, come back in, and, more or less it gets to showtime, and we're getting a little bit closer. And I was walking by the tech area, and I see the bass out being worked on. And I was like, oh my God. I talked to Boots. He was like, this is supposed to be a surprise, but obviously you've seen it. And then in my mind, I was like, oh my God, he might actually play this. Like, they're working on it. I sent Allan a text like, dude, he might play this tonight. This is unreal. So the show starts kicking off with Dumbstruck. It's hype. And but he's playing the original bass that he's been playing all tour. And I was thinking, maybe it didn't sound right or wasn't set up or something, because Seb typically doesn't switch his bass throughout the set. So I was thinking, maybe it's just not going to happen. So the set's going on, and probably about halfway through, all of a sudden I see the tech walking out, and he's handing Seb a new bass. And I'm thinking, oh my God, is that the one? And more or less, it's the one. And I'm just shocked, man. Like, this, it was such like a wholesome moment, like full circle moment. And Seb was just like, I kept noticing he was like looking down at it, just like so genuinely stoked. And I was just overcome with emotion, man. Like, it was rad. It was super awesome seeing him play it. I got to see the live debut. He rocked it out throughout the rest of the set. And then what shocked me even more than that is there's a part in the set where Ben was talking, and I saw Seb come down and talk to him, like whispered in his ear. And I was thinking, I don't know, maybe they're switching up the set list or something, or somebody's having issues with the guitar or something. And right after that, Ben, just in front of everybody, is like, our friend Ryan gifted Seb this bass today.
Our friend Ryan, who runs that page, honestly is more up to date with what's happening with Neck Deep than we are. He keeps track of all of the milestones and sort of different achievements that we have. But most importantly, he gifted Seb this sexy, sexy bass today. Custom made, baby.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, holy hell. Not only is he playing it, they're giving me a shout out, which was just insane. So I just really appreciated that moment. Just obviously like amazing memory and experience on my part. And I had hoped that the bass was worthy of being played one day, and to make its debut that night, Seb thanked me a million times, sent me some rad photos the next day from the show. It's just insane. So that's the story of the bass. I did get some clips of him playing it live, which is insane. I genuinely think he digs it, and it's a really, really rad project in my mind. So I want to thank Allan for sure for just busting ass to get this thing completed in such a short window when I needed it. Thank you, Neck Deep, for making music that means so much to me and fans all over the world. Greatly, greatly appreciate it, and always enjoy the ability to get out and catch these shows live. There's nothing better than seeing your favorite bands play your favorite songs live. Like, it's the best. So thank you, Seb, always being rad to me. And I just felt so much love from the Neck Deep crew, and like everybody involved was just so stoked, went above and beyond to, say thank you to me and say they appreciated it. And it was just an insane experience. So if you have any questions about the bass, drop them below. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll talk soon.